Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I'm here for Spellbinders to show you a couple die sets out of the collection A Charming Christmas by Becca Feeken. These are absolutely beautiful and very detailed, as always. So the first one I'm going to show is called A Charming Christmas, or the Charming Christmas Boughs. So you have this beautiful frame image, and you have a snowflake, an ornament topper, and then the ornament itself and its two layers. I'm also going to show you a charming tag holder. So this was kind of unique. I kind of put my own spin on this a little bit differently, just to show you that you can change up what the dies are doing to make it look what you would want it to look like. So let's get started with the first one. So these are the pieces that come into the die set. So you get the outer line of the ornament and you get the inner portion. So you can have two different colors there. Add texture if you want as well. So for the frame itself, I wanted to use a gold mirrored card. And of course I did. But I also went back into my stash, and from the last card kit for October, you got this beautiful pad of watercolor designs. So I pulled that out. And I chose this one with greens and blues. So I cut those images out, but I also cut it out of white cardstock just to make it a little bit firmer, make it more substantial. The paper pad is just that. It is paper. It's like a 65-pound weight. So I just wanted to make sure they were a little bit stronger, because what was in my mind, they were going to be loose and they were going to dangle along this card. So I just didn't want them to get beaten up, bent easily, and so forth. I then took the snowflake, excuse me, and I die cut that 3 times, and I'm just going to place it in different areas on each of my ornaments. Once they're in place, I will trim the edge off. Just again, to make it look like it's moving. I do like to have, when I'm die cutting or even creating a pattern background, just to have the images go off, it makes it look like it's continuous or there's movement to it. So I'm going to do the same thing with these ornaments. Now the card base that I'm using, it's not my standard A2 size card base. This one's actually a 5x7 card base with a side fold. I really wanted this because that frame, it's beautifully large. So this would be perfect for like a 5.5 by 5.5 card base or a 6x6 card base. Absolutely beautiful. It'll fill the whole area up. I grabbed some of my silver cardstock and cut out the ornament toppers. So now the ornaments have that silver piece on top. So now we have the silver and gold on the card. I will be working on a panel before I put it to my card base. And that panel is cut to a scant 5x7. I wanted it to cover the entire front. But again, I kept it black as well. But even though you keep your cardstocks the same color from your card base to what you're working on, if you do that, it still gives it dimension and it gives it texture. So just because it's the same color doesn't mean that you won't be able to identify that. I pulled out my liquid adhesive and I'm just putting dots and just, making sure I'm hitting the majority of the areas. And I'm going to set it down onto my panel, but up towards the top. I want to leave the bottom open for my sentiment. Now the sentiment that I chose came from a sentiment pack by Spellbinders in my stash, and it was from the Zenspirations collection by Joanne. And it's called, and I'm trying to look for the name as you can see, and it's called Christmas Sentiments. There you go. So anyway, I just really like the sentiments in that pack. So the one I chose is May Your Heart Be Filled with the Beauty and Magic of the Holidays. I used my silver embossing powder with my Versamark ink, and I heat set that. So again, I've got this silver and gold combination going on to the card on black, which will really make it stand out. I do like the traditional colors of Christmas, the deep reds, the deep greens, and the browns, craft color, and you'll see that soon. But I am also into the, excuse me, into the non-traditional colors. I do apologize. I'm coming off a very bad cold during the week. It's been wonderful. Season has started. So I do like the teals and the lime greens and the reds. I do like the white and the silver, or the white and the gold, or even the ivory and the gold. So I do like many combinations when it comes to the holidays, and the colors that we have available now. So this one's a little bit different. I punched some holes throughout my panel to intertwine with that gold frame. And I used to cross stitch a lot. I still cross stitch. You name the craft and I've pretty much done it. So I have a lot of thread. A lot of thread. Yeah, I'm still digging. It's still cleaning out here. And I found this silver thread that I thought was really pretty. So I'm actually just sewing that after I punch the holes. I'm using a needle to just make sure they're being connected into the ornaments. Now I'm looking, and I just adhered it with some washi tape on the back because we won't see that. Now you can see you've got some movement. They're going to swing back and forth, which I think is really pretty. Again, texture, dimension, differences. I do like that on a card. Noise, when you have a shaker card. But I think for me, they were swinging way too much, and I didn't want them to get damaged in any way. So I did decide to take a foam square and just put it behind each of the ornaments and make sure that they are secured down onto the base. I'm using a piece of fun foam and my liquid adhesive to adhere this to the back of the panel, and then also adhere it onto my card base. Now again, this is a 5x7 side folding card base. So this is a nice size card. So let's move on to the next one. So this is the tag holder or tag pocket. So I also pulled out a die from my stash, and this one's called Naughty or Nice, which I thought was really cute. So I'm going to be using the Be Merry die for my sentiment, and I have all of my pieces cut out. And I actually doubled up on a few. For the sentiment, I did that 3 times. So with this piece, they're already scored. I want to bring the score line up by another 1/4 of an inch just along the bottom. So I'm going to use my score tool for that. And then I'm just going to clip into the corner so that when I fold these in, they'll overlap slightly, but not much. They'll actually be mitered on the other side. I'm using my paper creaser just to make sure I have nice sharp edges on that. And this piece is actually going to come up and around the base. And I did cut 2 of this base here. So I'm going to use my liquid adhesive on the bottom tab that we added a 1/4 of an inch to, and I'm going to fold that up and make sure that's secured on the other side of the larger panel there. For the 2 sides, I'm going to make sure they're folded in, and I'm going to use again my liquid adhesive. Now double-sided tape is good as well. For these, sometimes, especially if it's a tag, I really like to use my liquid adhesive. It's a perfect bond. So instead of wrapping those tabs around to the back like I did on the bottom, I wanted those to stay on the front. So I just folded those in and laid it up against the panel. Then you have these decorative images that you can cut out. I chose, it's like the bobble lines. Another one is very fancy, and it just says there is a design in it. You get 3 of them. Another one says Mary, and then another one is like a flourish design. So I adhered that onto where that pocket is sitting. I'm now going to work on my sentiment, and I cut this out 3 times using deep red cardstock from my stash. And that's what I used for all of my cardstock for this one. These were pieces that were from my stash. I keep everything. It's amazing. I got to get better at that. Sometimes the pieces are an inch by inch piece. Really? Okay. But I do. Anyway, so I'm just layering that sentiment 3 times. Gives it a little bit of stability and makes it almost look like a piece of chipboard that you got. That is going to sit right along the front there. But of course, fall, vintage photo. We all know that it was going to come in. So I'm just going to go around the edges. I'm going to make sure I catch that top. It's okay that it's already together. Could or should you have done this before you put it together? You could have. You don't necessarily have to. I still got the same results. I'm taking the blender though, and I am going over that front. I want that design panel to stick out, but I did want it to be the same color, if that made sense. I mean, you could use another color for that. Again, whatever you would want it to be. I'm going to adhere my sentiment going on an angle across the front. I'm going to use an acrylic block just to hold that down because I got a lot of texture going on there, and I just want to make sure that it adheres. The outer line, there is a small card, or card base there. They measure about 1.5 by 2. I cut 2 of those out. I'm going around those with the vintage photo. I did cut 2 of my stocking. And what I did was, when I cut these out, Spellbinders is notorious and wonderful for the details that they put in their dies, so that you can also not only die cut the image, but emboss the image, which is terrific. So I made sure the green cardstock was actually layered on top of the craft cardstock, so I got a deeper impression. I glued those 2 together again just to make it a little firmer. I'm putting black on the back after that tag was dry on the back of this, just to cover up the bottom tab that I folded up. Makes it cleaner. If you like that, kind of finishes the piece off. I'm going to take the stocking, and I've dug into my obnoxious ribbon and twine drawer and found my, this is basically hemp cord, and I buy it by huge bundles from my local craft store. I'm going to wrap that around multiple times and then pull it through and make sure I knot it at the top. This will secure the stocking in place, and then we can just trim off to make sure we have little tiny tails coming off. I grabbed another piece of the hemp cord, and I'm going to tie a bow. I doubled it up, and I'm going to put that on the stocking just to make that stand out a little more. Not that it's not standing out, because it is in a deep green, but just to give that a little bit of an accent. With something like this, I want to keep it kind of like earth tones, so I'm not going to add any glitter or sequins or anything like that. So I just, gives it an earthy, I don't know if that's a word, but I love that word, and I've been using it a lot. The 2 little cards, you can put those in the pocket and write a special message to whoever's receiving the gift, and this could be your tag topper when it comes to your gift. So I think it's a little different. I had a lot of fun putting that together. If you are interested in these products, I will have them linked below in the video description, along with other items that I did use. If you should have any questions or comments, please leave those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here as part of my group. I hope everyone's having a great day and enjoying the start of your weekend. But always remember what's most important. Always be creative.